Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:06 on O'Connor and Company on a Monday morning in your nation's capital. Thanks for getting your week started with us. We are full steam ahead here with all the news of the day, keeping you updated on everything you need to know. It's 7:35. Trevor Matich will reflect on yesterday's challenging day for the Washington Commanders. At 8:05, Ridge Anderson, chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia. 8:35, Julie Perry. She's that teacher who is running for the state senate in Virginia, who was targeted by her opponent, who also happens to be a school board member.
Yeah.
Bit of an abuse of power there.
Yes.
A little bit of corruption. I mean, as Chris Plant would say, Democrats.
As I would say, crazy story.
Yes, that's Julie Gunlock. I'm Larry O'Connor, and we've now got Joe diGenova. And Joe, I don't know. I'm confused here. I see this indictment against Bob Menendez, and this pattern of behavior seems awfully familiar. The only difference is Bob Menendez wasn't smart enough to have his son do all the legwork.
Yes, it sounds like Menendez has a troubled wife rather than a troubled son. So I find the most interesting part of this story for me, besides the rather incredible allegations, and they only, by the way, we have to make note of the fact, because Democrats never do this. He's presumed innocent. He's entitled to due process and a fair trial. And as far as I'm concerned, given that he was indicted by the Southern District of New York, not New Jersey, where he is the senator from, this has all the appearances of some strange case that was put together in order to get Senator Menendez. Now, he may have helped them along by being a corrupt United States senator, but the Southern District of New York is interested in trying him not in his home state, which I find fascinating. The truth is, I don't trust anybody in the Southern District of New York. I particularly do not trust their motivations. They have become known by lawyers all over the country as the district that tries to protect Biden and the Biden family. And they've been running interference for President Biden for a long time. And we'll see whether or not these charges stick. It's a very ugly indictment. To call it anything other than that is just ridiculous. But once again, to me, the most interesting part is John Fetterman calling for Menendez to resign. Now, he was the first one out of the box, was John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, Peter Boyle in disguise as a United States senator. Fetterman is just as nauseating as Menendez in a different way.
Yeah, I was shocked also by Fetterman's call for him to resign. It was I was uncomfortable, sort of feeling good about Fetterman for a few seconds there. But I wanted to ask your opinion on something I've seen over the weekend, which is people saying, there's two types of justice, right? There's been criticism of the Democrats for all the indictments of President Trump, and now they're saying, see, we're willing to charge Menendez here, so that disproves this idea that there's two types of justice, two forms of justice in the United States. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't. One case does not make a point. They accidentally or purposely came across a case against Senator Menendez, and they've decided to bring it. Some cases are hard to ignore because the evidence is so devastating, and that's probably the case with Menendez. But he's innocent until proven guilty. As far as the two-tiered system of justice, this case proves nothing other than that the Southern District of New York does whatever they want to do, and I'm sure they've done it with the pleasant indulgence of Lisa Monaco, the Deputy Attorney General, who was from the Southern District, and the incredibly dumb Attorney General who doesn't know a lot about what's going on in his own department. Maybe he wasn't even told about this. It was so insignificant.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that dumb Attorney General, Merrick Garland did appear before the Judiciary Committee last week, Joe, and I've been waiting several days for you to respond to a couple of the exchanges. Here he is with Congressman Mike Johnson of Louisiana with, I think, my favorite moment.
Have you had personal contact with anyone at FBI headquarters about the Hunter Biden investigation?
I don't recollect the answer to that question, but the FBI works for the Justice Department,
It's.
I'm sorry.
it's
You don't recollect. You don't recollect whether you've talked with anybody at FBI headquarters about an investigation into the president's son?
Let's just pause it there for. I do love Mike Jensen. I'm sorry.
Sorry, what?
Joe?
Well, what I find interesting is the verbiage.
Yeah.
I don't recollect the answer to that question, meaning that he had answers written out for him and told what to respond, and he couldn't remember what he was supposed to say. He forgot the script.
That's right.
I mean, that when you parse the answer, he's saying, "I had an answer for this, and it was given to me, but I can't remember what it is." Now, I have to tell you something. He did this funny thing where he stands up and he takes umbrage. I thought the one thing that was so offensive to me was when he brought the Holocaust out and his families leaving Germany. Remember, they were subject of the Holocaust. You know, God bless them all, and we appreciate that history. That has no place in this hearing. Mm-hmm. That was an absolute abuse of his family history. But what's happening now to Merrick Garland is he was instructed on how to behave up there. And that's because he was a federal judge for a long, long time before he became attorney general. He didn't get to be on the Supreme Court. He's a bitter, bitter man. He's like Michael Ludwig, this clown who goes around criticizing Donald Trump for everything from, meteors hitting the earth to, the first biblical flood. Michael Ludwig will find a way. He's the defrocked Fourth Circuit justice who told George W. Bush, if you're not going to make me the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, I don't want to be on the court as an associate justice. That's what happened when Alito was chosen over him for the Supreme Court. So anyway, you have Michael Ludwig and you have Merrick Garland. They're two of a kind.
Now, I'm going to let this response play out. You're right. I can't recollect the answer is just beautiful.
I can't recollect the answer.
That's fantastic. But then, so he sort of, went off the top of his head here. And I think his response that he did end up giving is somewhat disconcerting. Listen.
I don't believe that I did. I promised the Senate when I came before it for confirmation that I would leave Mr. Weiss in place and that I would not interfere with his investigation.
Okay,
I have kept that promise.
Yeah, he says that, although when asked if he had any conversations with Mr. Weiss about the details of the case, he refused to answer that. So, it seems to me that he could easily have had a conversation with Mr. Weiss or with FBI headquarters about this and just said, listen, just so you know, I'm not interfering here, but, and then continue what he actually wanted to say, which is you bring charges against the president, you won't work in this town again.
Well, when you're being fundamentally dishonest and when you're lying, you have to remember each lie. Otherwise, you can't get it straight. And what he's doing is he's lying so much that he can't recollect the answer that was written for him.
Yeah.
And so in all of those cases, what you are seeing is a man struggling inwardly with what's left of his conscience. In other words, he says, I don't believe I did that. What do you mean you don't believe you did that? You're the Attorney General of the United States. This is, by the way, this is like January 6th, the most important case in the history of the Justice Department.
Right.
Remember how he's described that? And yet he doesn't know whether or not there were informants.
Right.
This is the most important case in the history of the Justice Department, and he doesn't know if there were how many FBI informants there were. What you are watching is somebody lying. When people lie, this is what they do. They become flustered because they can't remember all the lies. And when you have to lie, you have to remember each lie so that it holds up, and it's very difficult work. And he's obviously pretty good at it. He does a very good shuffle act now. But the problem for Merrick Garland is he has no persona other than that of the scared rabbit. His voice quivers.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a stentorian presence. And that's because he's not a public figure. When you're a judge for 20 years, sitting cloistered, nobody talks to you except your clerks. Maybe you talk to your secretary, him or her, and then what you end up with is a vacant mind that's good at paper and good at analyzing cases sometimes. But when you're a public figure, that's not the ball game. When you're a public figure, you have to convince people what you're saying is the truth. And so far, right now, on the jury pool, he's guilty as charged.
Joe, thanks for joining us. Perfect stuff, as always. Thank you for
my pleasure, and good luck to Menendez being represented by Abby Lowell. This is going to be very fun to watch.
Boy, talk about having a real, distinctive specialty.
Yeah.
I mean, Abby Lowell is the guy you call when you got caught smuggling money or shaking down a foreign government. Thanks, Joe.
He's got the, he's just stuffing money into envelopes in your house is fun. I mean, I have to say, again, he's presumed innocent. It looks awful.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Southern District wanted it to look like. But he's presumed innocent. And I think, but I want everybody just to ignore John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. As long as that guy is in shorts and a hoodie, he's not a United States senator as far as I'm concerned. He's Peter Boyle in Young Frankenstein singing Putting on the Ritz.
Put on the Ritz. Thank you, Joe. It's 7:17. That's my new ringtone. Joe diGenova doing Peter Boyle, Putting on the Ritz, Young Frankenstein. Jamie Whitten's in the Hadid Carpet Lady Traffic Center. All right, Swifties, you got to start learning things about football now. There's more to life than just, standing in line for a way overpriced concert. You're going to have to become big Chiefs fans because Travis Kelce, the superstar tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, now apparently it's official. He's dating Taylor Swift. She was in the family box for the game yesterday against the Bears, right next to his mom, who looked very uncomfortable.
Yes, she did.
Thing.
Well, I mean, in her defense, it's got to be nerve-wracking watching your son.
That's not what seemed to rack her nerves.
I don't know.
Now, you remember the Kelce's became a cause celeb because of the Super Bowl last year because his brother plays for the Eagles.
Right.
And he plays for the Chiefs.
Yes.
And the Chiefs ended up prevailing. And now he's dating Taylor Swift because she was at the football game, and we're all supposed to care deeply about this. And I understand why. I mean, after all, it's a big deal. Celeb romances. Football player gets
she's
gets
the mom
hot
seeing a
superstar.
Giselle Bündchen, Tom Brady situation on the horizon.
Yeah,
here.
I'm seeing a Tony Romo, Jessica Simpson
Maybe,
situation here. She's
Yes,
going to ruin his career.
Yeah. Well,
And-
Taylor Swift, I think, is a little smarter than Jessica Simpson. So maybe she does look like a little
Is
cheerleader.
she though? Have you heard
I'm
her?
no Swiftie, but yeah.
I should be careful because the Swiftie fans
Be
in
careful,
the
yeah.
audience. Oh no, I know
Yeah.
they're rough, and there's something about millennial conservative women who just love Taylor Swift.
I know.
It's insanity when I walk into.
She's
the town
not one
hall
of us,
office.
ladies.
No, she really ain't. One other aspect of this, which I find kind of fascinating, Travis Kelce. Taylor Swift is clearly a liberal Democrat, like Trump hating, conservative hating, Republican hating, transgender loving and embracing,
Sure.
kind of Dem. Travis Kelce, he's a football player. Football players, generally speaking, are conservative. They just are. That's
Right of center.
let's say right of center.
Yeah.
Not only is he dating Taylor Swift, but I watched a lot of football yesterday.
Yeah.
And all I could see was an ad that the aforementioned Travis Kelce is doing now promoting the COVID vaccine. Seriously?
Wow.
So it's
Maybe
like-
they're a match made in heaven.
Every break, it's like, there's Travis Kelce getting his jab. And then we go back to the game, and there's, Taylor Swift with her bangs and her very red lipstick
Yeah.
matching the Chiefs uniform. And then afterwards, they were seen leaving together. So there you go.
Well, maybe they're a match made in heaven, made in liberal heaven. There you go.
They're both 33 years old. Mm-hmm. And she wears a lot more makeup than him.
Time to get going, people. Get
Yeah,
married.
Exactly. Let's
Yep.
get this done right,
Yep.
it's, so to speak. It's 7:21 now. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, by the way, also calling for Bob Menendez to step down. So listen, when the lefties of lefties like Fetterman and AOC are calling someone, there's something at play here.
Yeah.
So be suspicious. But also, she was asked about her famous Tesla that she has and her little mini war with Elon Musk.
You were quoted back in July saying you look forward to buying a union-made electric vehicle, but you currently have a non-union-made Tesla. UAW already makes some electric vehicles. So
Yes.
why wasn't that? Is it a problem with the quality? Is it a problem with the style? Is the market just not there?
No, our car was purchased during the pandemic when before a vaccine had come out. So travel between New York and Washington, the safest way that we had determined was an EV, but that was prior to some of the new models coming out on the market that had the range available. But we're actually looking into trading in our car now. So we're looking into...
But she's been talking about it for months.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It was still non-union. She could have gotten, remember when Obama told us we had to buy a Chevy Volt?
Yeah.
Remember those
there were
things?
options.
Of course there were.
She just wanted...
She's a hypocrite.
She's a hypocrite, and she lives in that luxury apartment in Washington.
Yes, she doesn't have
She
we
loves...
got a cash flow problem here. I would have gotten rid of it by now, but, I want to sell it first. And it's like, oh, bull.
Even though it was a bad question, to me, it sounded rehearsed. I think they feed them these questions because...
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, because she seemed a little bit too confident to answer that. It was stupid, but I still think she sounded too rehearsed on that.
I would totally buy AOC's used Model 3.
Ew.
Oh, yeah. No.
No. Have you seen her fiance? No.
Oh, that's true. He's kind of cruddy.
His feet.
Up next. Why are you so obsessed with her? Do you want to date her or something,
I totally
Julie?
want to date her.
Coming up next, Trevor Matich on the Commanders.
WMAL-FM Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now.
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36 on O'Connor Company. Very busy Monday morning. We'll keep you going at 8:05 with Rich Anderson, chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia. And then at 8:35, Julie Perry running for state senate in Virginia. She's that teacher who was targeted by a school board member who's also running against her. As a typical dirty trick stuff, corruption, Democrats, Virginia.
Loudon.
Julie Gunlock is here, and let's get right to it with the one, the only, Trevor Matich, our Washington Commanders analyst here. Well, Trevor, I think last week I said, all right, so the 2-0 Commanders, are they good, or were their opponents, the Cardinals and the Broncos, just really bad? And I guess yesterday against the Buffalo Bills, we got our answer. It's very different when you play a team like the Bills and a quarterback like Josh Allen.
Yeah, it is. And to answer that question further, now that we have more information, Larry, this team has the chance to be quite good, but when it's bad, the floor is like staring into an abyss filled with serpents and monsters and the undead.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we saw in this game.
Well, Sam Howell in particular, I mean, you're watching this game, and it's one of those things where the second he's about to throw that ball, everyone in the stadium can see it's about to be an interception, and he did it 3 times.
Yeah, and then 3 times, and then the fourth was a pick six.
Yeah.
And so it was absolutely just – and the thing is, poor Sam Howell, he was swarmed by the pass rush, just swarmed. He was sacked 9 times. Some of those sacks were his own fault, though, and part of the problem was when he was swarmed, it caused him to lose his mind. It just totally freak out.
Yeah.
And other times when there was good protection, he just ran over to where a defender was being blocked and jumped into his arms, it seems.
Yeah.
It's like that pick six. He dropped back to pass. It was 3rd and 5. They only rushed 4. The protection was fine. And he left the pocket. He ran out to the left. And then here comes up from the secondary, A.J. Epinesa. He's 6'6". So Sam Howell runs. He didn't have to leave the pocket. He runs over in front of Epinesa, and then he throws the ball up high, and Epinesa jumps up and catches it and runs it in for a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's like everything about that play was wrong.
Yeah. So is this just a question of getting used to really good and fast defenses like the Bills clearly have, or is it just a question of getting rid of the ball faster? Or I mean, what do you see in Sam? Do you see in Sam Howell, when you watch him with your expert eye, do you see, okay, just a few, he just needs the experience, just a few more tweaks here and there, and he's going to be good? Or is there an inherent problem here?
Now, the inherent problem right now is fixable. Sam Howell at quarterback is trying to win the game. And he needs to understand that if the team is going to win, it won't be because of him. It'll be because of the receivers, the running backs, and the defense especially. And when things go bad, he tries to do too much. That's why he holds the ball too long. I mean, even the Bills players, when asked about it after the game, told the Washington Post that they saw that on third down, he tends to hold the ball way too long, over 3 seconds. And they said, okay, fine. We're going to get after him. 3 of his 4 picks were on third down. And he tends to try to do too much. If it's not there, he needs to accept it's not working and either throw it away or run or something. But instead, he still tries to make something happen, and too often that something is bad. So the first thing he needs to do is understand sort of the laws of quarterback physics. He's not in a position to win football games. He is very much in a position to lose them.
4 total interceptions, including that last devastating pick 6. It just was a bad day for Sam Howell. But the rest of the team didn't really step up much either. They started out okay, and Howell was targeting Terry McLaurin, who, they're trying to get more into the offense. But in general, would you call this sort of an overall, like every facet of the game problem? Even the defense looked, as strong as they have been, they looked pretty weak against such a good offense.
Yeah, the defense was exasperating in some ways and magnificent in others, actually. They couldn't get the Bills off the field on third down. I mean, the Bills had their way with the Commanders' defense on third down. That's all the defense's fault. But at the same time, on a day when the Commanders' offense gave up 5 turnovers, count them, 5 turnovers, the Commanders' defense only gave up 3 touchdowns, and one of those was a 35-yard drive, which was actually one play. Yeah. But it was still only 35 yards because of a debacle of a punt situation. And so for them to give up only 3 touchdowns, that's the good part. The other touchdown was that pick 6 by the Bills defense that you're talking about. So I'm not worried about the defense. I worry about that abyss of surface monsters and the undead that the offense seems to be staring into all the time.
Okay, but here's the funny thing about the NFL. Take the Arizona Cardinals, for example. Commanders beat the Cardinals. First week of the season, they got absolutely demolished by not demolished, but the Giants had an amazing comeback win against them. The second week, looks like the Cardinals are horrible. And then here they spank the Cowboys. Yesterday, Cowboys were flying high with an impressive 2-0 record. So anything can happen any week. What do you expect the Commanders do to bounce back? Because they got to go into Philly next week and play the Eagles.
And the Eagles are only getting better. I mean, they started out slow. They won 2 games against New England and Tampa, but their coach said they started out so slow again that he's going to rethink how much he plays his starters in the preseason. He's going to play them more in the preseason. Well, they got the wins anyway. The point of that is that even starting slow, they won, and now they're getting up to speed. So this is a really bad draw for Washington after such a debacle because they might come back and do what the Cardinals did. I mean, they might. They could come back and make everything right. They could do it.
Right, or do what the Texans did against the Jaguars. Or, I mean, it's just crazy this season. But meanwhile, real fast, that Dolphins game yesterday, I mean, have you ever seen anything like that, the offense in that game? The Dolphins look absolutely unstoppable, that offense.
No, they were. Tua Tagovailoa, he started out really struggling in his NFL career, and then the Dolphins got him an offensive line and a bunch of receivers.
And Tyreek Hill.
And those receivers, oh man, could run like crazy. And so now he's flourishing. Maybe the Commanders could. They got a bunch of receivers on the Commanders. Now they got to get him an offensive line. They could do maybe what the Dolphins did.
I was thinking about. I know it was a tough loss for your BYU Cougars against the Kansas Jayhawks Saturday, but it's not too late. You can jump on the Michigan Wolverine bandwagon because we are looking real good.
I know, because Michigan beat Rutgers. Michigan beat Rutgers. Go Blue! Actually, that was a pretty good win because Rutgers is actually a lot better than
Rutgers is much better than they've been, and I guess you got to hand it to Ohio State for barely beating Notre Dame. So there you go, barely.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The barreling conflict between Michigan and Ohio State coming up at the end of the regular season. I'm looking forward to that one because both of these teams should be undefeated by the time they get there, and Michigan won the last 2.
That's right. 3 in a row at the Big House. Julie Gunlock, remind me, Darren, your husband, who's his favorite team again?
You know, we could have gone just the whole time without talking about Ohio.
Oh, that's right, Ohio State. That's right. That's going to be humiliating for him. Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks, guys.
It is 7:44, and that means this. Megan Lockwood is running for school board out in Loudoun County, the Catoctin district, and I don't know a lot about politics. Lord knows. But and by the way, a school board is nonpartisan, right?
Yeah,
There's no
they're supposed to be
affiliation.
nonpartisan.
She's a Democrat, 100%, 1,000%.
Oh, of course.
Hillary Clinton voting, probably Bernie Sanders voting.
They don't even try.
No.
They don't even try.
So she's running for school board, and she put out a picture on her Facebook showing her at a campaign event. And I don't know, maybe it's me, but you're running for school board in Loudoun, and you have to pick a campaign sign to win over voters. What would you pick that sounds as pro-children as possible? The answer is a pro-abortion sign, one of those blue, round, keep abortion legal signs. And here's the best part. She had her daughter holding it.
Yes, it's so gross. Her very young daughter holding the sign.
Think this through for a minute. She's running on a platform for the teachers union and more spending in schools. It's like, our classrooms are overcrowded, so we got to get abortion out there as much as possible.
That'll
Too
solve
many
the
kids
problem.
getting born.
Too many kids.
In
That's
Loudoun
right.
County.
Taking up those resources, Larry.
Why is this even?
Well, also just the idea. I mean, this is what a lot of people have, and I think after COVID, we all realized this, that people use school board elections as a stepping stone to a more ambitious career. This is the same in Alexandria, Virginia, where I live. The school board members, they constantly tweet pictures of themselves at Democrat fundraisers, at Democrat Party events. They don't even hide it. And this is another example of that. First of all, a school board has nothing to do with abortion. Okay. So maybe talk about what's going on in the classroom rather than having your daughter hold a pro-abortion sign.
Oh, wait. You want to be a member of the school board? Wait, before we say anything, where do you stand on abortion? What will you do as a member of the school board on abortion?
Yeah.
About me, this is on her website. I cannot sit by quietly and watch as Loudoun County Public Schools are continuously paraded on the national news and constantly knocked off course by drama, politics, and culture wars.
Right. We put porn in the libraries and then expect you all to be quiet.
My personality is be kind.
Oh, please.
Oh, be kind.
Please.
Keep abortion legal. Be kind.
Mm-hmm.
It also, she promotes herself with a T-shirt that says, vote. The O in vote is a raised black fist.
Yep.
The T is a woman's sex organs.
Mm-hmm.
Ovaries,
Charming.
fallopian
Classy.
tubes, uterus, all in the shape of a T.
The E
of course,
is the trans flag.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
So there you go.
Cutting kids, sexual organs off is fine. Abortion is fine. And she's sitting on a school board.
Yeah.
Don't you feel safe sending your kids to schools she manages?
That is Megan Lockwood running for school board in Loudoun County. We're committed to highlighting all of the candidates out there. Ms. Lockwood, I'm thinking won't come on the show, but now you know. Now you know all about her. 7:53.